Assalamualaikum. Welcome to the program of guidance, Pedoman. We are fortunate to have here with us a distinguished Islamic scholar, Professor Dr. Ahmad, the Chairman, Department of Religion, International Islamic University, Islamabad, Pakistan. And in this program, we're going to discuss an interesting topic, the Islamic values in Al-Quran. Professor,
thank you very much.
Can you briefly describe to us the system of values in Quran?
Thank you very much, Dr. Abdul Aziz. It is a pleasure to come for this seminar organized by Pusat Islam and to share in ideas, particularly dealing with values in the Quran. In my presentation in the seminar, I have tried to focus on a few values coming out from the Quran. Naturally, the Quran is complete way of life, and as such, it does not have only a few values, but a large number of values. I have tried to concentrate on some of the major values which matter for everyday life. For that reason, I have focused essentially on the value of Tawheed, on which, if I say, the whole structure of Islam rests. Similarly, I have tried to understand the meaning of value of adl or social justice, the value of piety, Allah consciousness, the value of jihad, the value of patience or sabr, and so on. The main purpose in dealing with values is to understand how far these values given by the Quran have a relevance with our everyday life, particularly in a multi-ethnic, multicultural society where people coming from various origins live. The most important aspect I find is the values given by the Quran are not only relevant for Muslims but for the whole of humanity. The Quran did not come for one race, for one region, for one part of the world. It came for the whole of humanity. That's why the Quran addresses itself by saying it is a hidayah for the whole of humanity, hudan linnas. That's why we find the value of Tawheed, which is understood usually as the basic faith for Muslims, is not only important for Muslims, but it has a relevance at universal level for every human being. Tawheed means oneness and uniqueness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It means every aspect of human life should have uniformity and unity. Tawheed means serving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone, who is creator of humanity. If you look into world religions, we find that some religions may not call the ultimate as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but they do have an understanding human beings should submit to an ultimate. Say, for example, in the Chinese religions, Tao stands for that ultimate which is operationalizing in universe, in human beings, in nature, in everything. There is every possibility that originally the message which came to China, which came to Near East, which came to Africa, which came to European continents, might have been that of Tawheed, meaning submitting to one and only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Naturally, in these regions there were several languages, the geography, the setting was different, and as such, it was quite natural to have different terms used. My point here is, Quranic values are not only relevant for Muslims, but they have equal relevance for those who may not profess Islam as their faith.
From the Quranic perspective, Professor, Is there a hierarchy of values?
Thank you very much. It's a very good question. As a matter of fact, the value system in the Quran is very much related together. It's interlinked. It's not in isolation. You find the value of Tawheed related with Adl. Adl in Islamic terminology means social justice. There cannot be social justice unless there is a criteria to decide what is just and what is unjust. Unfortunately, in human societies, we make our own measures. We think what comes to my mind is correct. Islam claims human beings have a limitation. Our reason, our knowledge, everything is limited. While the Quran, the spoken word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the direct revelation, is not creation of human mind as such. The hierarchy of values in the Quran is based on a divine understanding.
Professor, in the Quranic perspective, all right, taking from a multiracial country like Malaysia, how do we go about establishing the system of values in our social, political, and economic life?
I think it's a very pertinent question. And let me say that when we talk about Islamic values of Tawheed, social justice, virtue, or birr, we find the Quran making it very clear that taqwa, Allah consciousness, or birr, which is known as piety normally, is not confined to simply a matter of worship or rituals, but it is essentially a matter of social action. And for that, the Quran tells us, whether people are Muslims or non-Muslims, you have to be kind and just to them. Whether they are going to be believers of one ideology or the other, social justice is to be implemented at all levels. You find Islamic value of zakah, Islamic value of infaq fi sabilillah, or spending in the way of Allah. Islamic value of sadaqat is not confined simply to welfare of Muslims, but it has a direct application to other people. Therefore, the hierarchy of values such as social justice, how can we think of a human society where the poverty level is unbelievable in many countries? We need to have some care for people who are living in our society. Social justice requires that even if there are Muslims or non-Muslims, their basic needs must be met. No injustice should be done to them, which means Quranic values have to be applied not only to Muslims, but they have equal relevance for the welfare, upliftment, and prosperity, development, and progress of human society as such.
Prof, briefly, can you tell us why you say the Islamic value is universal values?
Islamic values are universal because Islam essentially is universal faith. It is not a faith of Arabs, Persians, Turks, Asians, or Africans. Secondly, the Quran and the modality of the Prophet ﷺ is not temporal, but it is beyond time and space. It is relevant for every society. This is why the values given by the Quran are not creation of one culture. Normally, in human societies, when you find certain principles followed, these principles develop as a result of habit or practice of a people. Quranic values are not a result of habit of the Arabs or Persians or Turks, but these principles are given by the creator of universe, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and therefore these principles have a relevance for every human being. That makes Quranic values universal, relevant, and practical for every human being. Quran has never claimed that it is a book which has relevance for Muslims only, though Muslims are the substance, Muslims are the carriers, Muslims are the vehicles who must take this message not by the word of mouth, but by their good behavior, by their involvement in social action, by their trying to correct society, by their trying to eliminate injustice from existing situation. This is why you find Islam stands for liberation from the bondage of color and race and ethnicity. The Quranic values require from a human being that he should free himself from those finite approaches where we think only in terms of race, language or color. The Quran wants us to think as human beings and apply these values to welfare and benefit of all human beings. In other words, the Quranic values are not simply for Muslims, they have universal application for all human beings.
All right. As we listen to Professor Dr. Anis' explanation, we see that the Quranic value are excellent values. But then the Muslim need to learn the value, to comprehend the value, and to internalize the value. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran in one ayat, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. Verily Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not change the condition of a people, of a group of people, until they themselves change the condition inside themselves. So I think in order to internalize the Islamic value, we have to go back to Quran to learn it and to understand it. With that message, we come to the end of this program. Assalamu alaikum.